I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who snooped through her husband's things. But when you start feeling like a stranger in your own home, when the man you married starts watching you with that cold, distant look, you start questioning everything. And one night I did. It began with something simple, a blinking light behind the bookshelf. I was folding laundry, tired, half-focused, until I saw it again. Faint, red, blinking. I moved the books aside, and there it was, a tiny black camera tucked behind the old photo albums. At first I told myself I was imagining things, that it must have been part of the security system. Maybe something left over from when we installed the baby monitor, but then I found another one. Inside the smoke detector in our bedroom, and a third hidden behind the clock on my dresser. That's when I knew. This wasn't security, this wasn't protection, this was surveillance. And suddenly, I couldn't breathe. My name is Julia. I'm 34 years old, and for the past 8 years I thought I was in a happy marriage. We had a small house in a quiet neighborhood, a 3-year-old daughter named Lily, a life that looked picture perfect from the outside. But all of it, the house, the family, the trust, was built on lies. When Ryan and I first met, he was charming in the way that made you feel chosen. He listened. He remembered tiny details. He'd open doors, send flowers, write notes. To the world, he was the ideal husband, smart, stable, romantic. But in private, he was different. Controlling, subtle, not cruel, just cold. Over time, I stopped noticing when it started. The way he needed to know where I was all the time. The way he would ask for my phone, just to check directions. But linger too long in my messages. The way he said, "I just worry about you." The world is dangerous, and I believed him. But that night, standing in our bedroom, holding that tiny camera in my hand, something in me broke. I waited until he came home from work. I didn't say anything at first, I just watched him. Watched how calm he was, how normal. And then I asked, "Why is there a camera in our bedroom, Ryan?" He froze, just for a second, but it was enough. His smile cracked, his eyes narrowed, and he said, "It's for your safety." Like that explained everything, like I should thank him. I stared at him, speechless. "For my safety?" I repeated, trying to stay calm. He nodded, sitting down casually. "I've read stories," he said. "Women get attacked, houses get broken into. I just wanted to be prepared, wanted to make sure you and Lily were okay when I'm not home." I could feel my stomach twist. "Then why hide them?" I asked quietly. He shrugged. "Because if you knew, you'd act different. And I wanted to see the truth, the real you." That's when I knew. This wasn't about safety. This was about control, about power, about ownership. He didn't trust me. He didn't love me. Not really. He wanted to possess me. That night, I lay awake in bed beside him, knowing there were more cameras I hadn't found yet. Wondering how long he had been watching, what he had seen, what else he had recorded. I didn't sleep. I couldn't, because once you realize you're being watched, you start watching yourself too. The next morning, I got Lily ready for preschool like everything was normal. But inside, I was shaking. My hands trembled as I tied her shoes. My voice cracked when I told her I loved her. She looked up at me, so small, so innocent. And I realized this wasn't just about me anymore. This was about her. What kind of environment was I raising her in? What would she grow up thinking love looked like? As soon as I dropped Lily off, I drove straight to my friend Natalie's house. Natalie had been my best friend since college. Loyal, fierce and honest to a fault. When I told her what I found, she didn't blink. "Julia," she said, "this is abuse. Emotional, psychological, and it's escalating." I tried to defend him, still clinging to the version of Ryan I used to know. Maybe he really thought he was protecting me. But Natalie just shook her head. "Cameras in your bedroom, in your private space, without your consent, that's not love, that's surveillance." It hurt, because deep down I knew she was right. But I didn't want to believe I had built my life on something so toxic, so fake. I asked Natalie what I should do. She gave me one word: document. So I did. That night, while Ryan was asleep, I searched the entire house. And what I found made me sick. There were 6 cameras total. 1 in the bedroom, 1 in the bathroom vent, 1 in Lily's nursery, 1 in the hallway, 1 in the living room, and somehow 1 inside the guest lamp in the study. I took photos of all of them, carefully removed 2. And the next morning I hid them in my purse and drove straight to a lawyer. I sat in that office, surrounded by legal books and the hum of quiet voices, feeling like a ghost. The lawyer, Ms. Jordan, listened carefully. She didn't interrupt. She didn't judge. When I was done, she said, "Julia, this isn't just a violation of your privacy, it's potentially criminal. And if you're thinking of leaving, we need to do this carefully." She advised me to avoid confrontation, to continue documenting, and, if possible, to look into whether Ryan had been using any of the footage online. The idea made my skin crawl. I couldn't believe this was my life. That night, I couldn't look Ryan in the eye. He noticed, of course. "Are you mad at me?" he asked with that same fake concern. I shook my head, just tired. He kissed my forehead, and I forced myself not to flinch. I started making a quiet exit plan. I opened a separate bank account in my maiden name. I contacted a women's shelter that offered legal support and temporary housing. I reached out to my cousin in Seattle, who said I could stay with her if I needed. But then, everything exploded. One morning, I was on the home computer and checking emails when a message popped up on the screen. It was from a cloud storage service I didn't recognize. The subject line said, "New upload, bedroom, 3:14 a.m. I clicked on it. What I saw made my blood run cold. It was me, sleeping, vulnerable, exposed. And it had been shared to a private folder with dozens of other videos, all of them labeled by date and room. He had been saving everything, recording everything, and backing it up. And some of the folders had other people's names on them. That's when I realized Ryan wasn't just spying on me, he was watching others, guests, family, friends who stayed over. He was a predator. I closed the laptop slowly. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They were steady, cold. There was no more doubt, no more excuses. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't about love or safety. This was exploitation. And Ryan was not just watching me. He was collecting, archiving, possibly sharing. My entire life, recorded in stolen moments, stored in folders. It was a violation so complete, I felt like I didn't even own my body anymore. I backed away from the computer like it was poisonous, grabbed my phone. I called Natalie. Her voice shook when she answered. "What happened?" I told her. "Everything." I heard her breath catch, then silence. Then, "Julia, you need to go now." I didn't wait. I packed what I could. Lily's clothes, her favorite stuffed giraffe, some documents, my hard drive, and the cameras I had removed. Ryan was at work. I had a few hours. I picked up Lily from preschool early and told her we were going to visit Aunt Grace in Seattle. She smiled. She didn't know what I was running from. She didn't know what I was about to do. I didn't go to Seattle, not yet. I went straight to the police. I filed a report. I handed over the camera footage, the photos, the cloud recordings. The officer assigned to my case, Detective Harris, was professional, but I could tell he was disturbed by what he saw. "This could be part of a larger case," he said. "If he shared any of this, uploaded it anywhere, it becomes federal, and we'll need to involve cybercrime." I nodded. "I just want to protect my daughter," I whispered. He met my eyes. "You're doing the right thing." But the worst was yet to come, because 2 days later, Ryan found us. We were staying at a safe house provided by the shelter. It was quiet, secure, hidden, or so I thought, but he showed up in the parking lot, calm, smiling, as if nothing had happened. "Julia," he said, holding out his hands like we were just arguing about groceries. "I just want to talk." My blood went cold. How did he find us? Was he tracking me? Had he planted something in Lily's toys? I didn't wait to find out. I pressed the panic button the shelter had given me. Security arrived within minutes. The police weren't far behind. Ryan protested. He claimed he was just checking in on his family, that I was being irrational, that it was all a misunderstanding. But this time, I had proof. Detective Harris arrested him on the spot for illegal surveillance, for stalking, for child endangerment, and later, when they searched his devices, they found enough footage to open 3 more cases. 3 other women, friends, guests. One of them was my younger cousin. I was numb. I felt like I'd stepped into someone else's nightmare, but I wasn't asleep. This was real, and it was far from over. The court proceedings were the hardest thing I've ever been through. Ryan had money, a high-profile lawyer, and charm that worked on strangers who didn't know the monster underneath. He spun a story about paranoia, about overprotectiveness. He claimed I was emotionally unstable, prone to exaggeration, and trying to keep his daughter away out of spite. But the evidence told a different story. The footage, the secret cloud files, the physical cameras, and then the testimonies. My cousin, barely 19, took the stand with trembling hands and described how she found videos of herself changing in the guest room. Another woman described how Ryan would invite her over just to talk, only for her to later find photos of herself on strange websites. And me? I told the truth. All of it. How I once loved him, how I trusted him, how I dismissed the red flags because I wanted our family to work, and how I found the cameras while recovering from childbirth. There wasn't a dry eye in that courtroom. Even the judge and a stern older woman looked shaken. In the end, Ryan was convicted. He got 5 years, not nearly enough, but it was something. He lost custody, lost his licenses, lost everything he had tried to control. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe. But healing wasn't easy. Every time I walked into a room, I checked for hidden lenses. Every time Lily asked about her dad, I felt a stab of guilt and fury I couldn't put into words. I started therapy, so did Lily. I still jump at loud noises, still sleep with my door locked. But I'm not the same woman I was. I'm stronger now. Not because I wanted to be, but because I had no choice. I learned that love doesn't spy on you. Love doesn't make you feel small. Love doesn't steal your privacy in the name of protection. I got a job at a nonprofit helping women escape abusive relationships. I used my story, not as a wound, but as a weapon. Because if my pain could help one woman escape what I went through, then it mattered. Then I mattered. One night, Lily and I were curled up on the couch watching a movie. She turned to me and said, "Mommy, I like our new house. It feels safe." I almost cried, because that's what this was all about. Not revenge, not punishment, but safety for her, for me, for every woman who had ever been watched when she thought she was alone. A year later, I stood on a stage. It wasn't a courtroom, it wasn't a shelter, it was a conference for survivors, for women like me. And I told my story, every detail, every fear, every scar. When I finished, the silence was thick, but not empty. It was filled with respect, understanding, power. Then the applause began, quiet at first, then building, then roaring, and I cried. Not because I was broken, but because I was whole. Ryan never apologized. He sent one letter from prison months into his sentence. It didn't mention Lily. It didn't admit guilt. It just said, "I did what I thought I had to. You'll understand one day." I burned the letter because I didn't need to understand. I just needed to heal. Lily is thriving now. She sleeps peacefully without fear. She plays piano. She's learning how to ride her bike without training wheels. She still asks about her father sometimes, and I answer honestly. I tell her, "He made some very bad choices, but we are safe now, and we are loved." That's all she needs to know right now. Sometimes when I'm alone, I still feel the ghost of the cameras, that subtle awareness. I'm like I'm being watched, but it's fading. Day by day, breath by breath, I've reclaimed my home, my peace, myself, and now when I look in the mirror, I don't see a victim. I see a survivor, a mother, a woman who refused to be silenced. To anyone listening, if something feels wrong, trust that feeling. If someone crosses your boundaries and calls it love, it isn't. Your body is yours. Your privacy is sacred. And you are not crazy for wanting to feel safe. This was my story, not one I ever imagined living, but one I survived. And from here on out, I write every chapter myself.